Margaret Hayes stood at her kitchen window, watching autumn leaves drift past like scattered memories. At 68, she'd learned that life's greatest lessons often came wrapped in heartbreak. Her son Daniel arrived that Tuesday morning, his expensive suit crisp, his smile carefully practiced. He'd always been ambitious, perhaps too much so. "Mom, we need to talk about the house," he said, settling at her one kitchen table without waiting for coffee. Margaret's hands trembled slightly as she poured 2 cups anyway. She knew this conversation was coming. She'd known for weeks. "The property value has tripled," Daniel continued, pulling out papers. "If we sell now, you could move into that nice assisted living facility. I've already looked into it." She'd raised him alone after his father left. 23 years of double shifts as a nurse, of sacrificed dreams, of putting his needs before her own. This house held every memory: his first steps, his graduation, the garden where she taught him to plant tomatoes. "I'm not ready to leave, sweetheart," she said softly. His eyes hardened. That look, she'd seen it before in his father. "Mom, be reasonable. Sign the papers. We need this money. My business expansion depends on it." "We?" "Not you. We." Margaret studied her son's face, searching for the gentle boy who once brought her dandelions. But ambition had replaced innocence, and greed had crept in like frost. "I'll think about it," she promised. But Daniel grew insistent over the following weeks. Phone calls became demands. Visits became pressure campaigns. He stopped asking and started telling. One evening, Margaret's neighbor Robert mentioned something troubling. "Saw Daniel meeting with developers last week. They were measuring your property." Her heart sank. Her own son, planning behind her back. That night, Margaret couldn't sleep. She thought about her late sister Patricia, who'd left her a substantial life insurance policy 2 years ago. Money Margaret had never touched, kept secret, saved for genuine emergencies. She thought about kindness repaid with manipulation, about love met with calculation. By dawn, Margaret had made her decision. She called her lawyer, Thomas Bradford, an old friend from her nursing days. They met quietly, away from prying eyes. "I want to ensure my assets are protected," she told him, "and I have a specific plan in mind." Thomas listened carefully as Margaret explained everything: the pressure, the betrayal, the secret account Daniel knew nothing about. "Are you certain?" Thomas asked gently. Margaret nodded. "I raised him to be better than this. Maybe this is the lesson he needs." The next week, Daniel arrived with more papers, more urgency. His business deal was closing. He needed her signature immediately. "I've made my decision," Margaret said calmly. Relief washed over his face. "Thank you, Mom. I knew you'd understand. I am signing the house over," she continued. "But not to you." Daniel's expression froze. "What?" "I'm donating it to the Community Housing Trust. They'll convert it into transitional housing for nurses who can't afford rent. Young women like I once was." The color drained from his face. "You can't do that." "I already have. Thomas finalized everything yesterday." "But my expansion, the money I was counting on." Margaret's voice remained steady, though her heart ached. "You were counting on money that was never yours, Daniel. You pressured me, planned behind my back, treated your mother like a transaction. Where will you even live?" he demanded, anger replacing shock. "The Riverside Retirement Community. I've purchased a beautiful apartment there with my own money, from Patricia's life insurance." "The money you never knew existed." Daniel stared, his carefully constructed plans crumbling. "You had money all along?" "I did. But you never asked if I needed help. You only asked what I could give you." He stood abruptly, the chair scraping harshly. "This is ridiculous." "I'm your son." "Yes," Margaret said softly. "And I'm your mother, not your bank account." He left without another word, the door closing like the end of a chapter. The following months brought unexpected peace. Margaret's new apartment had a small balcony where she grew herbs. She volunteered at the community center, teaching young mothers about budgeting and resilience. The house became haven home, sheltering 3 young nurses who worked overnight shifts at County General. Margaret visited sometimes, bringing cookies, seeing her kitchen once again filled with laughter and hope. Daniel didn't call for 6 months. When he finally did, his voice was different, quieter, humbler. "My business failed," he admitted. "I overextended, made choices based on money I didn't have." Margaret listened without interrupting. "I lost almost everything," he continued, "and in losing it, I remembered something. Do you remember teaching me to plant tomatoes?" "I do. You said the best things take time. That you can't rush growth, only nurture it." His voice cracked. "I forgot that, Mom. I'm sorry. Margaret felt tears slip down her cheeks. I forgive you, sweetheart. I don't deserve it. Love isn't about deserving. It's about choosing every day to be better. They met for coffee the following week. Daniel looked older, worn by consequence, but softened by humility. He told her about taking a modest job, about rebuilding slowly, about the therapist helping him understand his father's abandonment had shaped his desperate pursuit of security. I thought money would make me safe, he said. But it just made me cruel. Margaret reached across the table, taking his hand. You're not cruel, Daniel. You made mistakes. We all do. How did you know? He asked. That I needed this lesson? She smiled gently. Because loving someone sometimes means letting them fall, so they can learn to stand on their own. Over time, their relationship healed not quickly, but genuinely. Daniel visited Haven home with her, helped repair a leaky faucet, shared pizza with the young nurses. He saw what his mother had built from his betrayal. Not revenge, but redemption. On Margaret's 70th birthday, Daniel brought her a small potted tomato plant for your balcony, he said, so we can grow something together again. Margaret accepted it with trembling hands. Seeing in her son's eyes the boy she'd raised, finally returned that evening as sunset painted her balcony gold, Margaret understood that justice and love weren't opposites. Sometimes the kindest thing you could do was let consequences teach what words could not. She'd lost a house, but built a home in her heart where forgiveness lived alongside boundaries, where love persisted despite disappointment, and in that small space between what was and what could be, both mother and son learned that the only wealth that mattered was the courage to choose goodness. Even when it cost you everything, the tomato plant grew strong that summer, bearing fruit sweeter than revenge could ever be.